Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for Empowered for Balance. My name is Brew, your Life Balance Strategist, and I'm so happy you've been able to join us today. Today, we're going to talk about money mindset. Money. Some people say money is the root of all evil. Some people say money answereth all things. There's so many perceptions about money, but we're going to talk about the importance of doing our money inner work, as in the money mindset and shifting our mindset about money. And then we're going to talk about how that could even affect our lives, our stress levels, our career transitions in our midlife, anything about our lives. And today I have Dr. Yashoda Bhaskar joining us. I'm so excited that she was able to make time to join us, even with her busy schedule. And I believe that whatever it is that she's going to share with us is going to be very transformational for us. Hi, Dr. Yashoda. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. And I'm happy to have you join us. I know you, but you tell my audience who you are.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk to your audience, your people. So I really appreciate the invitation. So a little bit about me, my professional background. So I'm Dr. Yashoda Bhaskar, and I'm a double board certified physician in internal medicine and recently in lifestyle medicine. And I worked for close to 20 years on the mainland as a hospitalist where we take care of really sick people in the hospital, and kind of went through my own burnout. We hear a lot about how our healthcare system is so broken, and there's definitely a lot of burnout, especially amongst physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. So at some point when I was like 52, I realized that I just didn't want to keep doing what I was doing. I was not getting any satisfaction. There was no happiness in my life. And my husband pointed out, although he had pointed out several times before, but it wasn't penetrating my thick skull, that we were probably going to be okay if I quit my job, right? Because I was a primary breadwinner for my family. I have two sons, one now 26 and 28. So typical sort of busy mom, trying to balance mom, wife, doctor, all of these different roles that I was trying to carry out. And so when he said, we'll be okay, right? I was like, okay, I guess I should then walk away from medicine. And then we decided to move to Hawaii because we were like, everybody moves to Hawaii when they retire. We should do it. So I've been in Hawaii for about 2.5, very close to 3 years in April. And when COVID happened this year, I decided that I needed to somehow help people out. Like I couldn't just like stay retired and hang out at the beach. And I did a bunch of telemedicine, which was very interesting, taking care of a lot of patients with COVID, seeing a lot of the pain. And it was a struggle. And I was trying to lighten the burden on other physicians as well, right? So that was very, very gratifying. But yeah, then I came across the field of coaching, and I decided that I wanted to become a life coach because I wanted to continue helping people, and this is a different way of doing it. So I got I enrolled, and I'm close to getting certified. But yeah, and what I like to do is, I used to be pretty good about going to the gym and exercising, and COVID's kind of been an issue with that. But I do yoga, and I do go to the beach, and I like to do Zumba and read. I like to read a lot, and I'm all into personal development. So that's a little bit about me.
Wow. Obviously, you're living like the dream that a lot of us have to retire one day and go live on the beach. You
Yeah.
know, what made you want to transition, from medicine? Because a lot of people grow up and that's their dream. They want to be doctors and all that.
Yes.
But at what point did you decide? I know you said your husband told you that, hey, you're going to be fine. But what made you want to transition or even move away from the medicine and go into something like coaching?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a lot of burnout. It wasn't really a recognized thing when I was going through it. I mean, there was some recognition, but the medical culture is very different. We are not allowed to show any signs of weakness. We are expected to be perfect all the time, get it 100% right all the time. So there's a lot of pressure, right, as physicians. And over the years, there was a lot of administrative sort of overseeing electronic medical records, which made it so impossible for me to spend more time with my patients. Like, I love taking care of patients. I just didn't like all the other stuff that came with it. And it felt like more and more and more, there were these other things that was creeping into my time with patients, And so there was a sense of just dissatisfaction. And also this whole idea of lifestyle medicine came into my world about 3.5 years ago, where the focus really is more on how do we help people get healthy and stay healthy, rather than, because I saw that a lot in the hospital, right? I would take care of patients with heart attacks and strokes and emphysema and cancer. And when I went through the whole lifestyle medicine thing, I realized that there's actually ways to avoid these diseases: diabetes, hypertension, right, obesity. And it requires what they call 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, which is, eating as much as possible a whole food plant-based diet. Doesn't mean you have to be vegan, because people immediately get that idea you have to be vegan. No, you don't. And then appropriate exercise, getting adequate sleep and rest, decrease your stress, social connections, right? And then avoiding, smoking and harmful habits like that. And so when I was taking my boards this year for lifestyle medicine, what came to me was nobody talks about money.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about financial wellness. Like,
Yeah.
I could patients till the cows came home about, you need to eat better, you need to stress less, you need to exercise more, you need to sleep better. But if they're struggling for money, right, if they're barely making their ends meet, then it's a moot point. Like, what's the point of telling them what to do? And so I figured, money is such a taboo subject, for one thing. We don't understand it. We're very confused about it. And we don't talk about it. In the 20 years that I've been a physician, I've never asked my patients, like, what's your financial status? Is that something that's preventing you from leading a healthy lifestyle? Or can you afford your medications? We're never trained to ask that. We just never go there. Like, I'll ask about their sexual health history, but I never ask them about their financial health. And I thought, oh my God, this is the 7th pillar of wellness. It's everything else is on top of that, right? When you have financial wellness, then everything else kind of is more doable. And so I know I didn't mention it in my introduction. So that's why and so coaching is because I figured, as an expert, as a physician, I could tell people what to do. But with coaching, we're helping them come up with their own answer to whatever program they come up with. And so I also became a certified money coach. It was a 16-week program I went through because I realized that I myself had not done my money work. I didn't understand right? So when you ask me, what made you switch, I could have probably walked away from medicine even earlier and saved myself a lot of heartache, but not knowing, not understanding finances, just the fear of, oh my God, what if my family start, like, who's going to bring in the money? How are we going to pay the bills? Kept me in the job much longer than I probably should have stayed. So the coaching piece came because I want to help people who are in the similar situation that I had been several years ago, right? There's a lot of burnout, like I said, and a lot of, physicians have a lot of debt, student loans, mortgage. Saw that amongst my colleagues. Like, when I gave my resignation, so many of them were like, how are you retiring at 52? Like, there's no way I can. Like, I haven't saved anything for retirement. And, we're high earning, income people. And for us to say that seemed really bizarre to me. I'm like, if you're making 20, 30K a year, I can understand how you don't have savings. But if you're making 200, 300, 400K a year and you don't have savings, there's a problem there, right? And so that's when I realized it's about the money mindset. It's not so much about how many dollars we have in the bank. It's really, what do we think about money? And so that was the program that I ended up doing because I think it's very powerful.
Yeah, I think so too. I know I've joined your group coaching and I love it so much, and it gave me a lot of aha moments also. But let's share it, let's share it with the audience. Tell us, you mentioned doing the money work, the inner work. What is that? What's money mindset about? What it is? How important is it for us?
Yeah. So I think of money work or financial health wellness as two components. One is doing the inner work about money, and then there's the outer work around money. The outer work bucket is basically what financial consultants, financial advisors do, right? You go to somebody and they look at your numbers and they're like, track your expenses, or where do you invest? Do you have enough for retirement? Like, they work with the numbers, right? The inner work program that I offer is a little bit different. I call them money healing circles. And yes, it's a group program, but the exact same protocol I also offer as one-on-one, because when you talk about money, there are certain emotions that come up for a lot of people, which is shame, guilt, embarrassment. Um, it's very close to our heart, right? It's a core issue. And so I like to offer the individual as well, because some people are just not comfortable in group settings to talk about it. So the way it really, when you think about it, is we make money decisions for the most part from a emotional brain, right? We have like three brains, right? We have the flight, fright, or freeze, right? Like that one part of the brain that, when we see some sort of fearful thing, it tells us to run away, right? That's how our ancestors survived. And then we have the emotional brain, where you see a beautiful picture of some model wearing a nice designer dress or carrying a designer bag, and you're like, and you just get this idea. It's not even conscious. You're like, oh, if I buy that bag or that dress, I will look like her, right? That's the power of advertising. So that's the emotional brain. And then the higher, more evolved part of us is the cerebral cortex, which is the thinking brain, right? Like when we make decisions from a thinking brain, we've given it enough time to like weigh all the pros and cons. And so the whole purpose of the program is to move us from making decisions around money from the emotional brain to the thinking brain. So to
Hmm.
give you an example, let's say you see an ad for like a course that you want to sign up for, right? And you're like, oh my God, this sounds so great. Like, I want to do this. And you click that button and put in your credit card information, and $4,000 is gone. What we train you to do is to really think about, is this course going to be helpful? Where is it going to help me? Is it going to make me a better person? Is this going to help me in my business? Whatever. So you really are slowing down. So it's not that you're not going to ever buy it. It's just that you have weighed all the pros and cons, and you're making a smart, sensible decision rather than this impulsive way of doing things.
Everything you've explained is very deep in the sense that a lot of us don't realize that when we make decisions about money, it's our emotional side that's at work.
Mhm.
So that's how come we end up having buyer's remorse, because you made that decision so fast, your emotions were high, you did it, and then you go back a day after and you're like, ooh, what did I just do? I shouldn't have done it, So I think that the work that you do is very important, because I feel like money causes a lot of stress for a lot of us people. And you were right when you mentioned that even people are not able to leave toxic work environments or environments where they are not thriving just because they have that fear.
Yes.
So I want us to talk a little bit about how money could affect our transitions in life, whether it's career transitions, whether it's even transitions from relationships, from places where we live, or, transitions in anything. Because I know you are also a career transition coach. You're a woman of many hats, and you are also as a life coach also. So how can this whole money mindset affect our transitions in life?
Yeah, such a great question, Amma. Thank you for bringing that up. So, again, when you think about sort of financial freedom, right? When you ask people, what is it you really want in life? Like, what makes you really happy? And a lot of people are going to say freedom. I want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and not have to worry about anything. And so, let's say you're in a job that you're unhappy with, or even a business that maybe is not going so well. and now you're deep in debt, right? Like I mentioned, the physicians, they're deep in debt and they can't get out. It's what we call the golden handcuffs. And but they're miserable. And honestly, Amma, the rate of suicide among physicians in this country is so high. It is ridiculous, right? Because they feel trapped. They feel like they have no choice. They have no option. They can't stay and they can't leave. So if people get smart about money, again, I really feel like you could go to a financial advisor and have them do your numbers and all of that. But the discipline that comes with putting that plan into place requires the inner work, right? Because your financial advisor could tell you, Amma, you need to pay off that $100,000 student loan in a year. And you're like, yeah, great, I'm going to do it, right? And then you make all these plans. And then you walk into Nordstrom's and you see those pretty pair of shoes, right? And you're going to think, oh, it's just $72. Like, how much of a difference can it make? Because again, you haven't done the inner work. When you do the inner work, you can combine that and you can say, you know what, if I buy that, chances of me paying off this loan in a year is going to shrink. It's going to keep going down. And this is my priority, right? Because I need to get out of this job or this tough situation. And so your thinking brain gets online and you're like, okay, maybe I'll buy it next year, right? When I've paid off my loans, right? It's that deferred gratification. So that's kind of the shift that I'm talking about making. And this program really has been proven. There's coaches who've trained from all over the world, and it is deep inner work. It is not a get rich quick overnight scheme. It does it does bring a lot of emotions up for people. And then when you talk about transition and money, even like there's a lot of domestic violence, right? And during COVID, it's definitely gone up. And 90% of victims of domestic violence, women, can't leave their husbands because of the financial piece. The husband's taken away the credit card or has basically made it impossible for them to work outside of the home or be financially independent because that's a way they can control the situation, right? And so that's another group of women where they're stuck because they literally cannot leave from a financial perspective. So, I mean, I could give you so many examples, but you get the gist of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And I remember that in one of the coaching sessions that I had joined, we spoke about how our upbringing or growing up, affects our money issues now. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So yes, so one of the portions of the program is what we call the money bio and the money questionnaire. Because the subconscious patternings that we have around money, our attitudes towards money, our beliefs about money, comes when we're really young. And it might not necessarily be from our parents telling us what they think about money. It's like everything else. As a child, we pick up the messages, right? We pick up unspoken messages. And if you ask a lot of people, about, I would say 85 to 90% of people would say their mom and dad were not on the same page when it came to financial decisions. There's a small percentage that they are, but for the majority, because they haven't done their money work, right? So you can have somebody who's a saver and then you have somebody who's a spender. The child is picking up on the tension and the child is making her or his own decisions around money. It's not really taught very well in school or college unless you go into like financial, into a financial thing or whatever. And so that's why we go back to really look at how you develop these patterns. Where did these beliefs and ideas around money came from that you carry right now? And we do couples coaching also in this regard, right? Because the husband comes with his own mind, or the male or the one partner comes in with their own story, the other partner comes in with their own story. And so it's important to really look at both stories and get the people together so they go, oh, now I understand why, he got mad when I spent, $200 and, whatever, right? Or now I understand. So when you start connecting at that level, then your relationship improves as well. So it's very powerful, whether you do it as a group, whether you do it individually, or you do it as a couple.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, I'm enjoying this conversation so much, and I hope that my audience is enjoying it. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button because that's how you're going to get notifications every week when we upload new episodes. All right, Dr. Yashoda, I also want us to, come back into stress and burnout again, because a lot of the people who watch or listen to this show are women, high achieving women like you, who have, either working different jobs or in positions where there are lots of demands on them and they're trying to balance things out and they're trying to shift from that burnout and that stress into a balanced life. So I want us to at least tie this into that. How does our money issues or our inner money turmoil, let me put it that way, affect our stress levels or our burnout levels?
Yeah, great question again. Actually, 75% of Americans in one study said their number one cause of stress was money.
Mm.
75%. That's 3 out of every 4 Americans say that the number one cause of stress is around financial or money issues. It is the number one or number two cause of divorce is, you know, arguments or disagreements around money. There's a trust issue involved, right? We hear about people having like a secret account that their partner is not aware of, for example, right? Money is used as a, money in and of itself is an innate object. It's a piece of paper with numbers and a figure of a dead president printed on it, right? But it's the meaning that we give to money. And so when it comes to stress, especially with high achieving women, my take is that if you are clear in your mind, so for example, I've heard people say, if I just won the lottery, I would quit my job, right? It's such a common thing that we hear. Well, what are you going to do with that lottery money? How much do you want that money to be? And you'll get a huge range of answers. You'll get people who say, I'm happy if I won 500,000, and you'll get people who say, I need to win 300 million before I can be happy, right? So again, when you do your money work, you get very clear, and the answer is different for everybody, but you get very clear. You're like, okay, when I hit this figure, whatever that figure might be, right? You can walk away, or it's going to not like stress you out anymore because now you have the freedom and flexibility to do what you want rather than what you have to do to survive or whatever. But if you're not even clear what your number is, I call it the R number. And people are like, what's that? I'm like, that's your retirement number. How much do you think you need to have before you can retire? And people throw figures out in the air, but they haven't done the calculation, right? Because they haven't done, it's just what they hear, it's the noise from the outside.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And money is kind of a funny thing because it's infinite, right? So people might reach 2 million. So initially they'll say, oh, if I have 2 million, I'm good, right? So they get to 2 million and then they're like, yeah, no, I think it needs to be 5. So then they get to 5 and then they're like, yeah, no, I think it needs to be 10. You can make literally infinite amount of money, right? Like, there's no limit to how much money a single human being can make, really. When you think about people like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all these guys, like they can keep making money till it's like there's no limit. So the first thing to do is get very centered, very authentic, and say, what would make me happy? Because otherwise you're chasing that hungry ghost, right? Like if it's 2 million, then it's 5 million, then you're never going to be happy. When are you ever going to be happy then, right? So doing the money work, you get very clear. You work out the numbers. Again, it's your thinking brain. It's not your emotional brain that's telling you this is a figure that makes sense for me and my family. And then once you get to that, the stress levels like literally just drops like a rock. It happened with me, right? My husband is the one who was taking care of all our finances for 30 some years. I never looked at it. I didn't even know like how much things cost or anything. But the fact of the matter is when he literally said, because this is a man I trust, and he said, we'll be fine. This is how much we have. Literally, Amma, my stress level went from here to here, right? And part of me was not fully on board, I'll be honest, because I hadn't done my money work then, right? I kept thinking, I don't know, maybe he's wrong. What if the stock market tanks? All of these things. But over time, I learned about IRAs and I learned about 401ks and about, the 4% retirement rule. And so once you gain knowledge, your stress levels keep dropping because now you're very clear. You've done the inner work, but you also have to do the outer work, right? And so once you get to that point, it's almost like automatically stress will come down.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, when we are centered around the money, then, we can have that peace of mind, knowing that, yes, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to get it. And then I'm good to go, instead of just, like you said, chasing after that thing, which we don't even know what we're going to use for. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
yep, yep. And I think that you're doing very good work, honestly, because money causes a lot of turmoil for a lot of people. And I do agree with you. Because we need money to do everything in this world.
Yes,
You need money to
exactly.
go on the vacation, you need money to travel, you need money to buy food, you need money for everything. So when you have money issues, it's hard, it's
Yes.
very hard.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know that you do help people to do the inner work and all that. At what point can a person start healing or doing all this inner money work? Because, is it when the person has a stable source of income, or do you have to have an income at all to be able to start working on your money? At what point in a person's life can a person start doing this?
Honestly, after having done the work myself and had like a wide range of clients, I would say everybody should do their money work whenever they're ready to do it. And the reason I say that, like you said, even if you're stable and happy and where you're at, life life throws us curveballs all the time. Things change so quickly. We just never know when something's going to hit us out of the blue. And so anytime people think, I'm not clear about my relationship with money, right? I don't have a very harmonious relationship with it. And this is regardless of your net worth. I want to make this again very clear. I've had, like I said, people who barely can make ends meet, and I've had people who have so much money in the bank, they don't even know what to do. And they all have the same sort of issues. There's underspending, or there's undersaving, or overspending, or oversaving. Like, you see the whole extreme range, and it's like, can we bring people into the middle? That's what we're trying to do with the money work. And so if you start sooner, you're going to have a much longer, happier life. If you start later, it's going to be a little shorter, but any time is a good time to do it. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So let's tie this into COVID-19. And there's been a lot of financial stress, and a lot of people have lost their jobs, people have lost their income, businesses are dying. It's hard. So for the woman out there who has been affected by COVID-19 and doesn't know what to do, doesn't even know what's going on, can't figure things out,
Yeah.
what would you tell that woman? What should she do? Where can she start? What can she do? Because there's a lot of confusion, uncertainty where the next paycheck is going to come from. So
Yeah.
what do you have for that woman out there?
Yeah. I always tell people, I drop practical tips. I'm not a I'm not a certified financial planner or coach, but just some very simple, practical, making sense tips. The first thing is you got to track, right? Like I tell, it's akin to people trying to lose weight, right? So if you don't even know how much you weigh and how much you want to lose, if you don't weigh yourself, how will you know if you've lost the weight? And there's a lot of similarities between food and money too, which is interesting. It's kind of like how we do money, we do food. So stress, right? Same thing, connection. So the first thing is just start tracking. And you know, letting go of the shame and the guilt and the embarrassment and the anxiety, that takes inner work. Like that's the work I do. And I don't, it's very hard to do by yourself, right? You really need a coach. You need somebody who's trained to do this, because you need somebody to hold your space and make you feel okay where you are at, and then kind of guide you through the journey. And so I would say definitely need to get a money coach for that purpose. But in terms of practical, is start tracking and just see where your money is going, right? What's coming in, what's going out, what are your fixed expenses? Like we all have fixed expenses, and then we have the discretionary expenses. So there might be what I call money leaks, right? So for example, one of my clients, she went through this process, and she she's like, I have all these subscriptions that I don't even use, right? Like to this gym that I haven't gone to in months, and some supplement company that kept sending her the supplements even though she hadn't even finished the previous batch, and all of this stuff. And she ended up finding $150 a month to save. And right. And so I said, multiply that by 12 and multiply that by 10. That's like more than $15,000, $20,000 right there that you save by doing this one thing and looking at every expense line and saying, yep, don't need this, delete, right? Like end it, end it, end it, end it, you know? And then, you know, the whole debt, like credit cards were never meant to be used for, like I said, shopping for those shoes that you can't afford at Nordstrom, right? When people ask about debt, I say sometimes we do have to take out a loan, right? Like if you can't just put cash down and buy a house and you really want a house, then, you know, then yes, you do have to take out a debt for it, or for higher education, like these doctors did. But then there was somebody who took $400,000 for her medical school debt because they kept giving it to her. And I'm like, you do understand, they expect you to pay it back. This is not free money, right? She didn't need to take out 400,000. Maybe a couple 100,000 would have been enough to lead a very simple life, just pay for her tuition and her books, and you know what I mean? So being very, very mindful about spending, but tracking for sure, and then finding what government assistance there is out there, you know, that in terms of the woman that you're talking about who's been affected by COVID, there's a ton of resources, right? We're lucky to live in this country, versus like, you know, India or some other developing countries where they just don't have that support. So yeah, so those would be some of the things I would say. Start paying attention to money, like don't look away and don't avoid it, which a lot of people do, right? They like get those bills unopened and throw it up, you know, above the refrigerator and pretend like it doesn't exist. Well, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt someday. So you have to deal with it like upfront.
Yeah, I like that. Those are very practical tips. And I hope that that woman out there would hear this and be able to apply it into their lives. So Dr. Yeshioda, where can we find you? What are your social media handles and your website?
Yeah, so my website is just www.yashodabhaskarmd.com. And you can find me on Facebook. I just have the one sort of, you know, personal slash, I don't really have a business page. It's again, Yashoda Bhaskar MD. Same thing, Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm on all of that. But if somebody wants to really, you know, figure out what this program is, there's a lot of information on my website. There's a free money quiz that people can take. It's an archetype quiz, and it's a way to first diagnose what issues you might be having. And then I do offer like a complimentary sort of consultation so people can learn more about the program. And yeah, my money healing circle, I'm offering the next one in February. I keep it only to 4 to 6 people because I want people to get individual attention, so they're not very big. And yeah, so those are some ways you can find me.
Yeah, I like the Money Healing Circle. I joined it and it's been very insightful and eye-opening. So if you're interested, I think you should check it out. What are your last words to us, Dr. Yeshioda?
As women, we need to take control of our finances. When we take control of our finances, even if you're looking at some sort of a transition in your life, let's say you need to take a break for a couple, 3 months just to regroup, right? Like we high achieving women, we just go, 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 go. And then we jump from one thing to another, mainly because we're living paycheck to paycheck. We literally don't have the luxury of taking a couple of months off. So if you're in that position, start saving and thinking about, I want to take 3 months off, like how much living expense will I need, right? And start doing that now. And always have a little emergency money set aside, because you never know, like COVID hit, right? So that's what I would say. Become more aware, become more educated. There's lots of resources online and everywhere for being financially savvy, but start with doing the inner work.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, we have to start with doing the inner work, because if you don't know your relationship with money and how you deal with money and even how you make decisions around money, you can get all the tracking systems or you can get, you know, the best accountant in the world. but you're still going to make a lot of mistakes with your money, even if you have all the money in the world. That's how come some people go bankrupt, even after they
Yes.
won the lottery, after they won all the money in the world. And it's like, okay, they still went bankrupt after 3 months or after a year, or after a couple of months. So we really need to do that inner money work. And I really enjoyed this conversation, Dr. Yeshioda, and thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to be here with us.
Thank you, Amma. Thank you for having me as a guest. And I really hope that your audience found this information helpful and useful.
Yep, I believe they will. And thank you so much for joining us till the end. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Empowered for Balance, all one word. It's been scrolling down on the screen. And hey, please join us next week for another life transforming episode on your journey to shift from burnout to balance. Take good care of yourself. And this has been Brew, your life balance strategist. Have a good day. Bye.